Dave Roberts will return for a ninth season as manager of your Los Angeles Dodgers. The Rams comb through the unemployment line for running backs, and a former USC basketball player gets traded only to lose his job entirely. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and start for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. So it is October 18th, 2023. I have a job interview later today. Oh, I already have a job, but this one is not going to make me travel so that I have to spend half my life living out of a Motel 6. So I'm pretty stoked about it. Wish me luck or something. But let's talk LA sports. If you like being in the know about LA, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment, because it's always good when you're talking LA. So before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Pierre-Luc Dubois endeared himself to the fans of his former team by sticking a first goal in when the Kings wound up beating the hell out of Winnipeg 5-1. Good times. Good times. Also, the first win of the season for the Kings. Better times. Better times. Meanwhile, today, nothing. So let's get to the news, shall we? Dave Roberts is going to return as the Dodgers manager next year. So saith Andrew Friedman in his season-ending press conference. Roberts has served in the role for 8 years so far. He holds the 6th highest winning percentage in Major League Baseball history. He's also only won one world title and authored 2 very ugly first-round playoff exits in the last 2 years, which has obviously gained a lot of ire from the fans. But look, instead, Friedman said he took responsibility for the club's postseason failure, which I think is a good idea, and I'll get to why in just a half second. Then, of course, Friedman starts using those phrases that I assume you hear about in Tony Robbins seminars, organizational failures, stuff like that. That to fire Roberts would be akin to covering up what Friedman did not do, change for the sake of change, all those kind of things. I totally get why Dodger fans would find these explanations unsatisfactory, but I'm going to be honest with you. I am absolutely okay with it so long as Friedman's self-accountability comes with some self-correcting, right? If you've ever read the book Moneyball, and this was back in the day when the Oakland A's were the pioneers of analytics, which the Dodgers swear by now, there's actually less responsibility put on the shoulders of the manager. It's more on the GM and the analytics guy. What happens? The GM and analytics guy, they start crunching numbers before the game, spits out a spreadsheet or something, they bring it out to the manager, and the manager then follows the game plan. The manager doesn't create it. Yeah. So if that is the case, then it follows that somewhere in the spreadsheet that gets presented to Roberts, there is a flaw. And whatever that flaw is causing the systemic failure during the postseason. I said what I guessed it was, right? I guessed last week. I think the Dodgers rely too much on hitting home runs. But that doesn't necessarily make my guess the right one. Friedman knows more data than I. Now, as for Friedman, he didn't go into specifics about what has to change either. Quote, a lot of these things, it's hard to know the answer to, unquote. But he did say the obvious part, the obvious thing, that there is a difference between playoff baseball than the regular season. And, quote, how to separate those, it's incumbent upon us to figure out, unquote. To which I say, absolutely, duh. Sorry that I'm using like third grade language here instead of this highfalutin professional seminar talk. You can talk about organizational failures. We're going to talk duh. He described the situation in the Dodgers front office as, quote, a lot of extremely disappointed, angry people who are all going to work really hard together to avoid being in this position next year, unquote. And we're just going to have to believe it when we see it. Other items that came up in the season-ending press conference. Friedman hopes Clayton Kershaw returns, but the ball is totally in the pitcher's court. Friedman conceded that he did not construct a strong enough starting rotation and that he will, quote, certainly be focused on starting pitching, unquote, for the offseason. Friedman was also asked about the free agency of Shohei Ohtani, to which he deadpanned, who? I get it. A little bit of levity. Dodgers GM Brandon Gomes also confirmed that he was asked to interview for the vacant top baseball operations job at the Boston Red Sox, but he declined the opportunity because, quote, I love it here, unquote. The Rams have elevated running back Royce Freeman from the practice squad. They also brought back Darrell Henderson and signed Myles Gaskin from Minnesota's practice squad to address their rather empty running back room. Yes, if you have finally realized in your life that there are not going to be any more pandemic stimmy checks, you too can be a Rams running back, provided you get your 40 time if you work on it. You too can be the next Cam Akers if you play your cards right. Meanwhile, starting running back Kyren Williams underwent an MRI, which confirmed he has a sprained ankle, but there isn't a timeline for his return. A source then told ESPN that Williams will be out for multiple weeks, but we've already discussed timeframes for injured ankles multiple times in the last month. Remember, the Chargers had the same issue with Austin Eckler. If it's not a major thing, if it's minor, you're gone for 2 weeks. If it's major, you're gone for 4, right? As long as it's not a break. So we don't even know yet if it's major or minor. Sean McVay said the Rams are still trying to create a game plan without Williams or Ronnie Rivers. But let's go for a little optimism with the Rams as well. Did you know that they have allowed just 4 passing touchdowns in 6 games? Tied for the fewest in the league. Thing is, though, they're tied with 3 other teams. Those other 3 teams have played 5 games, not 6. So theoretically, when it comes to scoring, the Rams' pass defense is actually better. Considering that the Rams traded away Jalen Ramsey, consider the Rams don't have much of a pass rush, that they didn't utilize high picks on defensive backs, and thus far have also faced Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, how can you not be impressed with that effort? I have to admit that this is a trade that I did not see coming at all. Houston, the Rockets, have traded former USC basketball player Kevin Porter Jr., who was accused of brutalizing his girlfriend last month, to Oklahoma City. Porter was sent to the Thunder along with 2 draft picks for Victor Oladipo and Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Now, for the Rockets, they rid themselves of a massive PR headache. And Robinson Earl has been kind of useful. Oladipo is honestly just an injury-prone guy right now. As for Oklahoma City, they don't want him. They don't want Porter. They plan to cut him pretty much immediately. The reason that the deal was made, though, I mean, we know why Houston made the deal. They wanted to get rid of Porter no matter what. The Thunder, on the other hand, get 2 more draft picks. The Thunder have 37 draft picks over the next 7 seasons. About half of them obviously coming from the Clippers in the Paul George trade. But 37 picks in 7 seasons is pretty crazy. The draft is literally going to be Oklahoma City's night over and over and over again. Now, when they cut Porter, Porter's going to get the remaining $16.9 million on his contract. And there's a columnist with The Athletic who called the trade morally repugnant, okay? He cited how the world had changed. The sports world is now a much nicer place ever since the video of Ray Rice knocking his girlfriend out, and, oh, that's what makes this such a bad idea. It's absolutely awful. Tut, tut, shame, shame, wag the finger. Terrible people over in Oklahoma City. And by the way, I've been to Oklahoma. There's a lot of terrible people there, so that part we agree with. But I have 2 problems with this column, and I have problems with what I think of as sometimes fake morality, fake outrage, which we get a lot of online. 1, there is no video of Porter doing this, unlike Ray Rice. 2, we also have his ex-girlfriend Obviously an ex-girlfriend, gee, I wonder why, but the ex-girlfriend is a former WNBA player with a name that I'll never be able to pronounce. She now says Porter never struck her. Now, do I believe her? Let me put it to you this way. I don't think Porter's a good guy at all. He left USC after just 1 year. He was one and done. Not because he was so great, but because also he wasn't a good teammate. The Trojans suspended him for his conduct. He's had problems with every single NBA team that he's been on. Draw your own conclusions, guys, right? Porter still faces charges of second-degree strangulation, third-degree assault. Now, why the lady is changing her mind, I have no idea. I could assume the worst, or I could also assume Porter's innocent. I am not here to tell you what to believe on that. I'm not going to sit here and be Mr. Moral on you. What I am going to tell you, I'd be very surprised to see Kevin Porter Jr. playing in the NBA anymore. This trade was simply about draft picks and PR. As for the current Trojans basketball team, they are ranked in both the coaches and AP preseason polls. 22nd by the coaches, 21st by the scribes. There is only one other Pac-12 team that is in the AP poll, Arizona. UCLA? Nope. CBSSports.com, using no criteria that I can tell, ranks Brandon Staley as the third likeliest NFL coach to get fired this year. My problem with the column, Staley should be higher. Here's why. Bill Belichick of the Patriots was second on the list. Bill Belichick. Now, he's not getting fired. Stop it. They are not going to do that. He's going to be given a fat golden parachute check and asked to craft a retirement speech. But fired? No, that's not happening. The guy gave New England 6 Super Bowl titles. He gets to call his own shots on the way out the door. So, no, he is not the second most likely guy to get fired, no matter how bad the Patriots are this year. Do you know how much of a damage that would be to Rob Kraft's reputation? How would you like to have a job where you win the title 6 times and you still get fired mid-season? Of course that's not going to happen. Now, as for Staley, I can't stress enough how the Chargers brass operates. They have not fired a coach in season in decades. So Staley's job, in my opinion, is probably secure until the end of the year. I believe the last time the Chargers fired a guy mid-season, I believe it was Kevin Gilbride back in 1998. The bloody Clinton administration. There wasn't a 9/11. There wasn't hope and change. There wasn't Make America Great Again. It wouldn't surprise me if all 3 members of Nirvana were still alive by the time the Chargers last fired a coach in the middle of the season. Michael Cooper saw LeBron James eating on the bench during a preseason game and said that was disrespectful, that he should have eaten in the locker room. Now, James, he was in street clothes. He started the game, played a little bit, pulled himself out. You know, why not? It's a preseason game. Puts on some street duds. I guess he crushed a hot dog or whatever. As for it being disrespectful, I guess I can kind of see that. Until I remember the last time I saw a guy eating on the sidelines. It was Mark Sanchez of the New York Jets. So until LeBron James butt fumbles in a critical situation, I'm going to give him a pass. Just saying. Assistant coach Phil Handy also is allegedly trying to find a wardrobe stylist for Austin Reeves, because maybe that way he'll land Taylor Swift. I think we could all agree that instead of a wardrobe stylist, the guy needs a better barber. But until then, keep sinking them threes, dude. I don't know how good the philosophy department is over at UCLA, but I think a good metaphysical question might be, what is a sellout? Because the athletic department is claiming the Rose Bowl is sold out for the game against Deion Sanders' coached Colorado team, which is nice, until you realize that there are tarps still covering big swaths of the Rose Bowl. See, officially, Rose Bowl capacity is 89,702, but the Bruins are questioning the reality of what a sellout actually is, because they have only sold 67,066 tickets. I believe it was first coined by the French philosopher René Descartes. Cogito ergo StubHub. I think, therefore I buy discounted tickets. Last night marked the return of Arthur Kaliev from a suspension for the LA Kings. Coach Todd McClellan slid him right into the spot vacated by the injured Victor Arvidsson. And not only did Kaliev score, but the new line of Philip Deneau in the center with Trevor Moore and Kaliev combined for 4 goals and 9 points. Maybe by accident the Kings have something there. Finally, Dennis Bouanga seems like a shoo-in for the Golden Boot in MLS with 19 goals, and I honestly hate myself for that pun that I just threw out there. He's 3 goals ahead of Luciano Acosta of FC Cincinnati with 1 match left to play in the regular season. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about Dave Roberts returning. Talk to me about the Rams running back situation. And if you enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Quien Corte El Queso production. Take care.